All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to tackle one of the most dreaded topics in calculus, the chain rule. But what if I told you there's a simple, visual way to get these problems right every single time? Stick with me, because we are about to make this thing easy.
Does this feel a little too familiar? You see a function inside another function, and suddenly, you're losing marks on something that feels like it should be simple. It's super frustrating, right? Well, that ends today. We're going to fix this for good. So let's really get to the heart of the problem. The chain rule is all about these nested functions. One function living inside another, kind of like those Russian dolls. The real challenge isn't just finding a derivative. It's figuring out how to deal with the outside layer and the inside layer without messing everything up.
And that's exactly where the chain rule comes into play. It's the perfect tool for this exact job. Honestly, all you need to do is think of it as an outside function with an inside function. The entire trick, the whole game, is learning how to handle the outside first without touching the inside and then deal with the inside part.
So here it is, our secret weapon, a super simple three-stage flowchart. Forget just memorizing some formula, we're going to use a visual map. This whole process breaks the problem down into a clear, repeatable rhythm, and that's what's going to help you get rid of all those tiny, costly mistakes.
And here's the map. That's it, just 3 steps. First, we're going to identify the outer and inner parts. Second, we'll differentiate that outer part, but, and this is so important, we leave the inside part completely alone for a second. And the final step? We multiply everything by the derivative of that inner part. Identify, differentiate, multiply. That's all you have to remember.
Okay, theory is one thing, but let's actually put this flowchart to work on a real exam-style question. This is where you're going to see just how powerful this little method is.
All right, check this out. Our first problem is y equals, in parentheses, 3x squared plus 5, all to the power of 4. I mean, this is a textbook chain rule problem. You can clearly see the inside stuff, the 3x squared plus 5, and the outside part, which is just something to the power of 4.
So, following our flowchart, step 1 is just to identify the pieces. The outer function is basically just something to the power of 4. And the inner function? Well, that's the something. It's the 3x squared plus 5. Just by separating them in our minds like this, the problem already looks way less scary.
Now for step 2. We differentiate the outer function. So, using the power rule, the derivative of something to the 4th becomes 4 times something to the 3rd. See how we brought the 4 down to the front and then just subtracted 1 from the power? And, crucially, look at what's inside the parentheses. It's exactly the same. We haven't touched it.
Okay, and this right here, this is the single most important rule. It's where almost everyone makes a mistake. At this stage, you do not differentiate what's on the inside. You just leave it alone. Copy it down exactly as it is. Getting this right is everything.
And finally, step 3. Now it's time to deal with that inner part we've been ignoring. So the derivative of 3x squared is 6x, right? And the derivative of that constant, 5, is just 0. So the inner derivative is 6x. And what do we do with it? We just multiply our last result by it.
All we have to do now is a little cleanup. We take the 4 from the front and multiply it by the 6x at the end, which gives us 24x. And boom, that's our final answer. By just following the flowchart step by step, we got there perfectly.
Okay, that worked great for a power function. But does our flowchart work for other things? Like, what about a trig function? Let's give it a try with y equals sine of 5x.
You know the drill. It's the exact same process. Step 1, identify. The outer function is sine of something. And the inner function? It's that something, which in this case is just 5x. See? The logic is exactly the same, even if the functions look totally different.
On to step 2, we differentiate the outer part. We all know the derivative of sine of x is cosine of x. So, the derivative of sine of something is just cosine of something. And remember our big rule, don't touch the inside yet. So it becomes simply cosine of 5x.
And for step 3, we multiply by the derivative of the inner function. And what's the derivative of 5x? It's just 5. So we take our result and multiply it by 5.
And there you have it. The final answer is 5 times cosine of 5x. Once you do this a few times, you really start to feel that rhythm. Outer, inner, multiply. It just works every single time.
Okay, so the method is solid. But let's be real. On an exam, it's not just about getting the right answer, it's about getting every single mark you deserve. So let's talk about the common traps and how this flowchart helps you just walk right around them. Here they are, the usual suspects.
Completely forgetting to multiply by the inner derivative, that's a big one. Differentiating the inside part way too soon, making a silly mistake with the powers, or basic sign errors. Our flowchart basically forces you to avoid these because it makes you slow down and do each part in exactly the right order.
Now, here's a super important insider tip for your exams. On papers for boards like FBISE or O-levels, a question just like this is almost always worth 3 marks. And those 3 marks are not just for getting the final answer.
Check out how they usually break down the points. You get 1 mark just for correctly differentiating the outer function. You get a 2nd mark for remembering to multiply by the inner derivative, and the final 3rd mark is for getting the simplified answer right. This proves that the process is the whole point. If you try to jump to the end, you are literally throwing away easy marks, even if you magically get the right answer.
And that kind of brings me to a final thought here. We just took a problem that feels really complex and made it totally doable with a simple little map. It makes you wonder, right? How many other big, intimidating problems out there are just waiting for us to find the right, simple map to solve them?
Hey, if this flowchart method really clicked for you and made the chain rule feel a whole lot easier, let me know down in the comments. Just type flowchart mastered. Thanks so much for hanging out, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.